30 p.m. Probably overdue for our mini lesson for the day. Couple of words. A little secret. This one is a little deeper, but it's a good one. If you appreciate this kind of thing, let me know. I know that a lot of people are thinking, what is this fucker on about? Anyway, it's a good one, and it's relevant and it's practical. So one thing that I always remember is that this whole world, the world that we see, it's not real. It's just vibrations and energy. Vibrations and energy. Everything's vibrations and energy. Even this mouse, it seems pretty solid, but if we really go down and drill into the thing, it's made up of atoms, which are vibrations and energy. There's no such thing as matter. You could almost say nothing matters. Nothing fucking matters. Even matter. Even the periodic table of elements. You go into the elements. They're not really matter. They're octaves of vibrations. Now consider the people in your life, the other humans who are floating around maybe in your house or in your workplace or in your society. They're other fucking people. They're made up of atoms, which are vibrations and energy. Vibrations and energy, trying to seek equilibrium. The humans in your life are trying to seek equilibrium. So here's a really cool diagram that I sometimes think about. I ponder on this in my social dynamic, my relationship. Whenever I'm going someplace, when I'm sitting in an elevator or going to dinner and we've positioned ourselves around the table, I think of the energy fields in between people. And I'll be one of the people, and then the other person will be one of the people, and they'll have a field, and I'll have a field, and we'll have a magnetic field in between us, and there'll be an equator line where we have equilibrium in the middle. But depending on if there's a charge or an argument or a disagreement, or there's some emotional turmoil, guess what? The reason that you're experiencing that emotion is because you've charged yourself, you've polarized yourself. And when you do that, when you take a stance on something, you're going to draw in people to play the other role. Then you're a victim of circumstance. And you can see this play out in every part of life, in every area of life. Take politics. Someone reached out to me and said, oh my golly gosh, did you see what this politician is doing? And all this, and complaining, victim of circumstance, taking a stance. I said, no, I haven't taken a stance on that. So I don't need to draw in the other person with the opposite pole to push my buttons, to get me back in the middle, to give me equilibrium. I don't need to draw in that person. So I don't get affected by that, they do. That make sense? So you're going to have here a rhythm and a polarity in your life. That's normal. Everyone has that. But the way things get out of control and get really unstable is when you take a big stance on something. When you really splay out from the middle, you're going to attract in the other pole, and that's going to push your buttons. That's going to feel uncomfy. Remember here these magic words. Any force, or I'll add, any trait that you express, any human trait that you express anywhere, simultaneously creates an equal and opposite force or trait in reverse to void it. So, what most people do, what the masses do, is they polarize themselves. They take a stance on something. They think that that's the good and the other's the evil, the opposite's the evil. Then by way of taking that stance, they attract in the evil into their life. And so they have this war going back and these complaints. And if they're really stupid fuckers, that war will make them slant even more, and they'll become more polarized, and the war will get more aggressive, and then there'll be a fucking war. Then it'll be a physical war, and people kill each other over that shit. They're dumb fucks. Here's what you do if you want to be a master. You want to master your shit. You want to master your whole fucking life and master the people around you. You need to master the art of neutralizing your own polarities. When you have a stance on something and you've attracted someone in to push your buttons because you're actually off kilter, you got to see that. And see them, and see the equator line, and see yourself, and realize and be really honest with yourself, use the overview effect and see, I'm actually off balance right now. What am I not seeing? What am I not doing? How can I get it back to the middle? And as soon as you get yourself back to the middle, guess what? They'll dissolve away. They'll go away. So you've seen my little pendulum here. You see me, where is it? There it is. My light and matter little diagram here. Realize this, read this. When any of the two equal pairs of opposite tones are united, they become stable. Stability is the uniting of two opposite polarities. So if you're having turmoil in your life, if you're having some fucking crazy chaos, then you're entangled in a circumstance because you've taken a stance on something. If you can identify that and neutralize that, you'll rise above the whole thing. And you can practice it. There is a tremendous amount of liberation, freedom, power, mastery that you feel when you're engaged in some kind of heated argument, and you find your thing, you balance yourself, and you see them just retract. To do it though, you need to be experiencing at that time soul level overview effect. If you're in the body, if you're in the ego, ego is not going to drop that shit. That motherfucker wants to go to war. Takes a lot. It's easier said than done. But if you can neutralize arguments without even lifting a finger or opening a mouth, and then if you can also do the opposite, if you can polarize someone deliberately to get a reaction out of them because you have power and you're choosing to go to war for a particular reason, for a particular outcome, then you're a gun. thank you for all the great follow-up questions from today's little mini lesson. It was more than I thought, actually. Let me address a few. One that has come up a bunch of times is, what about having an opinion on something? Everyone's got their opinions. It's true, but an opinion is not necessarily a polarization. You won't necessarily need to attract in someone with the opposite opinion, because the opinion is like I like red more than I like blue. That's an opinion. A polarization is blue is evil. Good, blue is evil. Red is positive, blue is negative. That's a charge. You're going to charge yourself. And you start doing things like that, sports teams, politics, abortion, vaccination, all your opinions, when you take a stance, you're going to pull in the other side. And if you're aware of that dynamic and you're deliberately taking a stance to polarize your audience and attract certain people for a certain agenda, that's one thing. You've got control over them because they're not aware of it and you are. You've got control over that thing. But if you're taking a stance and trying to change them and thinking they're wrong and you're right, well, you've got yourself a futility, and you'll go round and round and round through the decades doing the same shit, dealing with the same thing and judging the people and trying to change other people on the outside. You'll never do it. The next question I get was, well, if you don't give a fuck about anything, then your life will have no meaning. Not true. On the contrary, as you dissolve your charges and you stop taking a stance on things and you rise above with the overview effect and see that every single stance that the people have, there's another opposite stance. And they're running a circumstance and they're going round and round and round, but you see the whole thing and you see order. They see chaos, you see order. You see balance, you see symmetry. And in that way, you pull out of the suffering of mankind. This is the mass consciousness going around and round and round in circles, judging, taking a stance. Oh my God, that's good, that's evil, all this kind of crap. You can pull out of that. And when you do, you'll be graced by the balance and the perfection and the symmetry of the matrix that we're in. It's all balanced all the time, all the places, all the spaces. And when you really deeply acknowledge that, there's no fear, there's no shame, there's no guilt. All your stuff just goes. The expectation, the tradition, the tomfoolery, the judgment, the stances, it just goes away. It just dissolves. It fucks right off. And you give yourself permission to go and do what you want, what you're most inspired to do. And life is much better that way.